Good afternoon, LinkedIn friends, HubSpot Nation. Welcome to another episode of Let's Unbox HubSpot. We're here talking about intent data, intent signals with Justin. How you doing, man?
I'm great. I'm great. How are you?
I'm doing well, doing well. You know, at the beginning of last year, I never would have imagined that I would care about intent data at this point in time as much as I do. Um, and I have some thoughts, but I would love for you to kind of, you know, w- if I could put you on the spot, why do you think that is? I could say it just like that.
Why do I think that you didn't care about intent as much as you do now?
Or maybe easier to say, like, why do I probably care about it uh, more now than I may have planned to?
Okay. Probably for a couple reasons. One, maybe the more obvious one, uh, you know, you're a HubSpot dude through and through. And what our team has been working on since a couple inbounds ago was just baking this stuff in natively within HubSpot, making it super easy, accessible, affordable for customers to start incorporating intent into their sales and marketing motions without having to leave and have it flow through to all the places that they need it to flow through for it to be actionable, right? And so I hope that's reason one.
Yeah.
Because if so, then maybe I'm kind of doing my job. And then secondarily, uh, if you're in the marketing world, sales world, go to market world, um, it's all about signal nowadays. It's about how do you prioritize, who you go after, who your reps talk to first, who do you put into what sort of ad campaigns. And a lot of times that comes down to the types of signals that you can extract, right? And so if you care about, efficiency, eliminating waste, and how you're going about your business, then intent is one of the ways you can do it, right? So
Yeah. Nah, I think you nailed it. Definitely. The reason I wasn't, uh, you know, and sometimes I even talk down about it because companies they would just go look for this magic kind of bean of all this intent data. Like if we just pay a bunch of money for that from this other place, we're going to bring that in, and all of a sudden we're just going to have all the leads and all the actionable data. Meanwhile, they have this gold mine of data that they're already sitting on from current customers and all this activity
Mhm.
that they weren't using, right? Um, but now, like you say, like this has come in and it's baked in, and it's now part of that data set where you have access to just so much insight now that we're going to look at. But so that definitely that baked in part, like everybody, like how can we help people understand that this data is just sit like in the portal, like waiting. And but then number two is everybody, like a lot of people are resonating with not necessarily a new topic, but unified customer view as like an outcome that everybody agrees is good for the business, no matter which team you're on, leadership, any customer facing team. And really this leverage, like intent signals and signal recognition and the importance of that and like custom events, that whole infrastructure of
Mhm.
HubSpot, it's really hard to get that like anywhere else right next to like the revenue data. So like for the first time, instead of having to send it out to like data lakes or whatever and like transform, right? We can actually get like a true unified customer view in HubSpot now. And that's what
Mm.
has me like super, super excited. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, like, it's interesting because, so I actually came over to HubSpot via the Clearbit acquisition. So, I was at Clearbit for a bunch of years, and I was on, a team that worked on Clearbit Reveal, which was the old reverse IP technology that Clearbit had. And we built the weekly visitor report, like some cool stuff out there that was all centered around website based intent, right? And when we got acquired, and I was told to essentially rebuild everything from scratch within HubSpot, I mean, A, I was scared, but B, I was super excited because one of the trickiest things with being someone like a Clearbit is that eventually you got to plug into a HubSpot, right? Like that's where customers, or whether it's a HubSpot, a Salesforce, whatever, they want to bring that intent technology like into their CRM, like into their engagement platforms, etc. And we said, hey, we get to build it in here, and that gives us a pretty neat advantage in the sense that like let's build it so that it just flows nicely everywhere, and it works nicely everywhere. And you talk about like reporting all to like intent signals is what we just launched recently last September. Now all the signals that are detected by us, they just flow natively into like the custom report builder, for example. It's just nice stuff. You don't got to pay extra for it. It just works, right? And that's what
Yeah.
we're aiming for. Keep it simple. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. And that's what's been fun to like interact with a little bit. So I'll be honest, not a true unboxing. I have started playing with it. Cause I'll be honest, like as we go through it, this is probably I think this is the lowest risk, uh, time to value places where you can use your breeze credits,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Is
yeah,
that fair?
totally.
Like, because
Yeah.
right, like so many people have just 3,000 or 5,000 credits. And like a lot of the other ways we have to use credits in HubSpot, like a customer agent or prospecting
Mhm.
agent or data agent, like there's some work you have to put in if you actually want those things to like create value for you. Whereas that was my first, I think that's why I came over first. It was like, hey, we had a show about, different ways to use credits.
Mhm.
And I'll share my screen now because like, and even as I was preparing for this, I have a cloud project, that I go to for like I'm doing this unboxing, and he does a bunch of research. And his first pass was like, yeah, intent data, like website visits, like the usual stuff. And I was like, no, man, like I want to talk about intent signals.
Mhm.
That's the stuff that's like the kind of data that like people want. They don't really know how to get it. And unless you like kind of craft this uh like a strategy around it, right? I think it's uh it's like this it's like what that's what I like doing is like helping people understand like, oh, you have this other thing available now, right? If we look at just this like product launch, right? It doesn't
Mhm.
have to be an interaction, with your
Mhm.
brand, with your asset, with your company. And that can be, like you mentioned, um, enabling people to be more efficient,
Mhm.
right, with their outreach. I think we're in a place, and this is the kind of stuff that HubSpot enables it, and especially when we get to like loop marketing and that whole strategy. Like, can we put our teams in just the most agile position so that when we see a product launch, like we can react like very quickly, right?
That's exactly it. Like I have a bunch of thoughts, but I'll start with that last point of, how to be quick, right? So it's a game of like, speed, right? Speed to lead. And so uh one of the cool things about signals, right? And for folks that are watching that aren't super familiar with how it actually works, when we detect a signal for a company, like for example, this T connectivity company, that product launch signal actually manifests itself as a unified event. And so I know you've had some previous unboxing talking about events and like whatever. And events are really cool because they represent moments in time. And we are able to define via these event properties here, pretty rich metadata for that actual signal. And then all of these data points, because of unified events, are unlocked as primitives elsewhere in HubSpot. So then we think about, hey, I want to make sure that the minute a product launch is detected for one of these companies that I'm tracking for signals, I want my rep to know. That is so easy to set up in a workflow where you can just set up a workflow trigger as like a product launch as an event trigger. You can even do any filtering on any of these metadata data points you see here. And then the action is just like, let the account owner know. And that's just like the most basic automation you could set up. There's a ton of things you can do. And that was our vision, right? Like our vision was, yes, having the signals is important, but that's just one piece of the pie. Like what you really want is to be able to take action in a way that jives with your go-to-market, your sales motions, like your marketing motions. Like that's where the magic happens, right? So
Yeah. And I think this is like turning into like an unboxing of strategy based on having access to this, because it's like so interesting. I'm curious, like, are you seeing customers like, because that's a significant adjustment to go from like all of the traditional like best practice, right? So being proactive, being proactive, being proactive. Like now that signals like this are coming in,
mhm.
are you seeing teams be able to adjust to be like and kind of trust that we know this data is going to come in, so
Mhm.
can we create the space for our teams to react to it? Because uh, like a hypothetical example I like to bring up, like if you're like an SDR or your sales and you got this prospecting list and like block these 2 hours of the day to like just email and call and right. Meanwhile, there's intent data or like signals over here, whether it's from this area of HubSpot, whether it's social, right? That
Mhm.
says like if we are Johnny on the spot with those signals, like that creates really great relationships and that stuff closes, faster, let's say.
Mhm.
Are we able to like break down those blocks of time where we're supposed to be doing outreach, where a signal happens and we can, shift gears and go respond quickly? Like, are you seeing teams like kind of see the value in shifting a little bit there?
I think so, right? Like from the customers that I've spoken to and that we've kind of walked through the product with in the early days and even till, as recent as this week, right? What customers want to do, and this is like doesn't matter if their sales team is 2 people or 10,000 people, right? They just want to use this as a way to help cherry pick and augment, their BDRs or SDRs queue, right? For the day, for the week, for the month. And because this is a unified event and because it's a primitive, and plus you can like put this stuff into segments or however they're in HubSpot, they're creating their prioritization lists for their sales teams. Like they just fold it into their process, right? And we've actually seen a lot of more sophisticated customers be like, "Oh, cool! Like we're already getting signals from like over here and over there. Let us fold yours in too." And that just gives them more confidence that they should go after company A versus company B first, right?
Right.
So I would argue that like yes, like that's actually where a lot of our customers' minds go first, and like our primary users are more so like um, on the marketing side where they're serving a sales org or like a marketing like or an operations team where they're also serving like marketing and sales orgs, right? And that's where their mind goes. So like, oh, cool, more ways for me to use this data or complementing data that I'm already getting from other places, right?
Right. Yeah. Um, some really powerful stuff. And like the way that this is laid out, I think I'm gonna we'll go through the unboxing process. So I do some of that we promised.
Sure.
So go over here. We're in marketing, in the marketing nav. Go to buyer intent. And we got visitors here. This is the part where I'm not sure if it's going to work super well because I'm in a demo account. It doesn't have a website.
No worries.
But yeah, we don't really want to worry about visitors right now, anyways. As I love this transition. So, like, as we do the morning show, like there was a moment in time where research was introduced, and it was like for me, I was like, all right, finally, like it's not all about buyer intent. Like people are sending signals everywhere. It doesn't mean they're buyers, but if they're doing research, right, we might want to know about that. Can you talk through like how you guys think about, I guess, the different types of intent here?
Yeah. So we launched, like I said, 2 inbounds ago, and we only had visitor intent. And the way that we've historically thought about visitor intent is that that's like it doesn't get any hotter than that. So you literally have a company that's on your website, could be checking out your pricing page, and we can show you real quick if they're already in your CRM or not. Do they represent new pipeline or not? And you should probably go after them as soon as you can, right? They're aware of you and they're considering you. But what we did uh, as like our second signal was launch research intent, and like the reason why we did this was because we know that there's this whole other uh Venn on like the Venn diagram, or a circle on your Venn diagram of like very hot to like starting to research topics that make sense to your business. Like there's this whole universe of companies that don't know who you are yet, but they should, because they are interested in what you are selling, or they're researching the problems that you're looking to solve with your product, right? And so this whole exercise was helping our customers expand the number of potential accounts that they could pursue, right? And when I was spoken to customers, it's very straightforward. It's like, yeah, like go after the folks that visit your website first. And then once you're done there, you feel good about that, then start to go after the folks that are researching topics you hear about. Give them different types of content or outreach. Like maybe it's more of your educational stuff, et cetera, et cetera. Educate them on who you are, right? Bring them into your funnel, right? And that's great because, we can't always be banging on the doors of folks that are ready to buy, because that's just not the reality. Like folks are kind of slowly coming in and working their way down that buyer journey. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, having that in here, like just giving teams permission to be like, look, there's 95% of the audience that's not in buy mode, right? Like figure how do we talk to them? How do we build a relationship with them? This is like huge in terms of helping reveal like, who that is.
yeah, and we know that a lot of HubSpot customers aren't like giant enterprise companies, right? So they're not getting, 1 million visitors a month, right? And so, that's the real limitation of visitors, is you're limited by the number of visitors you have, right? Whereas for research, you are not, right? There could be hundreds of thousands of companies that are interested in, a topic that's relevant to your business, and all of a sudden you have access, and you can start to introduce yourself. And we feel like that's really cool value as well for our customers.
Yeah, for sure. That was like definitely something fun and immediately like thought of as super valuable as I came over here the first time. And that, of course, like I love it when there's like soft nudges from HubSpot. So like, yeah, you probably want to do this stuff, like this other stuff before you dive in and like target markets. Like I hadn't seen like this mechanism. And so once I got to it, I was like, all right, pretty cool. So we'll just go to manage markets here. Um, that brings us into this markets beta. And we're going to create new market. Let's say industrial, add industries. And if I actually did industrial, like for real, this would take a while. But let's do like automotive. Chemicals. Let's see here. All right. Keywords, like all this stuff that we can configure, which I think is important. And like, well, it's only 10 credits a pop per month, right? Is that correct?
So yes, there's two ways to spend credits in buyer intent. One is via intent signals, which you showed, and that's actually it's a recurring monitoring fee, right? So let's say you're tracking one company for signals, then that's like 10 credits per month essentially for that company. Or if let's say you're in like the visitors tab, the research tab, doesn't matter, and your use case is actually finding net new accounts to pursue, right? We charge 10 credits per company that you discover and then add to HubSpot, right? But that's like a one-time cost. And like we kind of did it that way because they're kind of separate use cases. One is like, oh, I want to expand the number of accounts I'm pursuing, so let me add. And then signals is more like, I know who my high value accounts are. Now let's track them. Make sure that the minute a signal that I care about is detected, I do X action, right? And go after them, if that makes sense.
That does. And I didn't realize how granular this was over here. This is
Yes.
folks, I don't know like how many people actually know this stuff exists, man.
Unfortunately, it's a bit of a tricky spot about HubSpot, as you know.
Yeah.
There's a lot of cool bells and whistles, but some of it can be hidden. So
yeah. So like this is the kind of stuff like people are doing outside on LinkedIn and just paying for all this other stuff. Where I mean, yeah, the ability to like do just this research inside, like right next to the other data that you have, so powerful. I am gonna undo this one. Just like do like all the research and like that's where like the unification of all this stuff just can be so powerful. I did want that does remind me, like you mentioned a few words that I'd love for you to define. One is unified event, and the other one is primitive. Can you just define those real quick?
Yeah, I'm just throwing out some weird terms. So, unified event essentially is just it's an event, and so as hopefully, you know, what it essentially means is okay. I'll say it this way. I think what most customers are most familiar with in HubSpot are properties and property values, right? So I have a property Y, and then it has a value X. So let's say like country as a property value is Canada, right? And a lot of customers are very familiar with using properties and property values to define segments, workflow triggers, reporting, all that good stuff. But there's a whole other new world of events, and events also act as something that you can use to do the exact same things, like to define your segments, trigger workflows. But instead of it being just one value that changes over time, they're essentially like time-stamped, events, or I guess events are events. They're time-stamped, and every single time that is triggered, it's printed, and then there's a log of them. And so like the best example is if you think about like a company record, contact record, whatever, you go to the activity log, right? And you see like call logged, email sent, et cetera, et cetera. Those are all events. And so like we wanted to plug our signals into that system, because of the fact that we can provide much richer metadata with our signal. Because if you can imagine, if it was just a property, we can't shove in all that information into a property value. It becomes tough, right? And so we made that decision. And by primitive, essentially what I mean is just like something that you can use as like I said, like a trigger, a criteria, like scoring is another example. You can pull signal data as scoring criteria, right? So, oh, when I detect this signal, add 10 points or whatever. And I think that's what really unlocks like the multitude of like tailored use cases for our customers. It's to unlock it in that way.
Right. Okay. That makes sense. Thank you for that clarification. I've and in the configuration here. By the way, at the front of this, when you first click into this, there's a great 8-minute video from Justin. I recommend you checking out. Let's click setup automation here. Let's save view. So we got to make a view. Let's see if this will just do that. No. Okay. So we're going to come back to save view. Let's go back to here, industrial AI. That's right. I was going to make target markets in my target market. No, nobody found here. Interesting. Yep, I didn't pick an obvious one here. So I think this is why I do it this way. Like this is often real life HubSpot. Or just picking data and trying to make things work together. So I'm gonna go and easily edit target market. I also like this as kind of a learning activity to understand like how these things work. So in theory, if I saw mechanical or industrial engineering was on the list, if I just save market and I come back here, I'll do a little refresh and see in my target markets, I should see like this should stay, but that's in India. Dang it. Not gonna work. All right. Well, I know that these kinds of companies are on this list, so we're gonna try it again. No. All right. Come back here and let's reduce some variables.
I'm sweating bullets over here, but this is a very
Oh, I got HubSpot here. Look at all these variables I'm applying. Like, yeah, let's
that
open
should
it up
probably do it. Yeah,
a little bit. This is not unlike, I promise people, this is not unlike how it actually happens in practice. Like, you companies decide on the ICP, that they want, and they spend a lot of time setting up all these things. Like that's always the place that like, if you haven't set up process and strategy and you just dive in, it can be so easy to spend a lot of time on these things. And then, not execute the best. And then all of a sudden, people often point at the tool or the data is not good or things like that. Like, I like to help people with the data model so that we understand that when we set it up like this, that we should see these things over here. And that brought us down to 4. We've got a nice target market tag over here. Got a nice link to LinkedIn. Right. Got view activity. Again, like I love what you guys are doing with this, these side cards now. Like just this kind of activity, again, putting it all together It's just so helpful. And if I want to do this, so if I understand correctly, this is going to be 10 credits when I click this button,
That's right.
right? Okay. So let's track. And we've got some to use. So we'll start tracking. 10 credits, company per usage period. Start tracking. Set up automated tracking when a company becomes a target account. Sure. All right. All the warnings. Start tracking when a company enters a chosen lifecycle stage. Yeah, that makes sense. All required fields must be completed before turning on. So if I edit this, that opens up lifecycle stages. We're gonna say researcher, razor. Actually, all these. If you probably haven't seen these stages before. This is what I refer to as the value path. I've decided to stop explaining MQL and SQL and all the other acronyms that we try to use and just use plain language. And it's working out. The humans seem to understand these words, and the AI too, by the way.
I dig it.
That's a lot easier. All right, so we've got that. Turn that on. And then start tracking when a company enters any chosen segment. Are you seeing like any kind of like usage in terms of which of these are working more well or working well for people versus?
Yeah, actually, so these sorts of one-click rule-based automations, we just went live with them pretty recently, maybe a couple of weeks ago. And yeah, like actually the target accounts one is the most popular. And which is totally cool. But we wanted to make sure that we included all three to provide like the flexibility if folks don't use that target account property, right, and they use another way to identify their high value accounts. But I will say that yeah, like we're pleasantly surprised with how quickly a lot of customers have started to turn these on, because ultimately the vibe is I don't want to track everyone, but I want to really, really make sure I track the folks that I care about like right away. And that hopefully is kind of what helps them do that. So
yeah, for sure. This is what's helpful when we're having this conversation about unified customer view. And there's another one I call unified business context view, where it's like this market data and like strategy and like look, like we can bring all that here, right? Like there's a place for that in HubSpot now, and it actually creates a lot of it too. But it can be easy to run into, especially with the sales team, like, oh, it sounds like I'm gonna have to put in all this data now. And that's where we can design like the target account situation. Like if you use that like religiously and set up all of this automation around it, even now, to like automatically track these signals, which is super cool, especially like segments. Start working with the marketing team folks. Maybe they can help you out here. That's why we want you both in the same room, right? These conversations are so much easier. We build these views for you, no problem, if we just talk to each other.
Yeah, like a really cool use case, and that's like not that hard to set up, is the classic PB and J combination of like, hey, if you have accounts that your reps are chasing down because a signal has been detected, you probably also want some marketing air cover, right? And by air cover I mean just like ads and like whatever. And so like all you have to do is make sure that you have an automation or a segment that, is triggered or criteria based on a signal, right? And then that same segment could be plugged into an ad audience, right? And so it's the same accounts. This is like classic kind of ABM theory here. Like you have this set of target accounts, this target account list or whatever. Reps are going after them on the ground. Marketing is hitting them with ads. And this is all possible now, like natively within HubSpot. So it's pretty neat.
Yeah. No, that's
Mhm.
oh man, so much value here. Just gotta ask for it, honestly. You gotta want it. You gotta know it's available, but also like know what you're like that it is valuable for you instead of just going to pull another list from
Yeah.
wherever. And that's
And
where
I'll,
like strategy wise, like marketing can help you understand like why also why like so why you care, but also like what content we have available to like react to that thing. So it's not just like, hey, congrats on getting the new job, right?
Mhm, mhm.
Instead, it's like, hey, awesome. Like, hope the new position's going well for you. Like, here's our C-suite, like, design content, basically. Uh, just talk about like, there's no like, don't be cold. Like, there's no reason to be cold anymore.
No, but
Right?
I like no, I agree, and I think back to something you said in the beginning, like about how it's not um like intent's not a or signals, it's not a magic bullet, right? Like many other things, like a marketing team has to consider. It's just one thing that helps in terms of like your personalization, your prioritization, etc. Like you do still need to make sure that once you have access to signals like this, uh, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to personalize it? Do you have a sales team that's like big enough, has enough capacity to like pursue these accounts, etc.? So there's a lot of questions that need to be answered, but it's always nicer to be asking those types of questions to have like to be put in a position to try to answer those questions. And that's what signals helps you do. You're like, oh, so I got these, like, well, what do I do with them? How do we use them? Like, that's a great spot to be in.
Yeah.
um you know what I mean? So
Yeah. And again, that's why I highlight like that's one of the powers of deciding as a team or as a company, like unified customer view, like at all costs. And like when you just document what you want to see, and often this is just people sitting down like, oh yeah, I saw this thing on LinkedIn and they commented, like it'd be cool. Like if we could see that, right? And that's okay. And like we document it, we might be 10% of the way there, we might be 50% of the way there. But if we can decide and then understand what that gap is, that's where stuff like this, it's like, oh, maybe this person posting some of the leadership content like fills a gap that lets us know that gives us this like first step is getting signals and then recognizing. That's why signal recognition is like a superpower right now if you can set that up well. Are there any um these new ones that have dropped, executive hiring growth metrics?
mhm.
um Two questions. Like any of these that you're like more excited about, is let's start there. Like any of these signals that you're just like, yes, we finally got this one. It's gonna be super valuable.
You mean of the new or just in general of all of them?
Let's say in general.
Okay. uh so I think that for customers that want to go after companies that are growing, which is like a lot of customers, right? They're like, okay, well, they're growing, so that probably means they have more budget, more money. They can bring on, a new vendor, new technology, whatever, right? That's why growth metrics, geographic expansion, funding, like they all kind of fall into that bucket of like, hey, there's positive signals that this company, like they're doing well, right? They're looking to expand, and they're probably going to look to bring on partners to help them continue to grow, right? And so I get really excited about those. But stuff like product launch is where it gets really interesting, because if you care more so about personalization, right? Like opening the right conversations with that initial outreach. It's stuff like that where it's like a like a knockout uppercut there, because it's getting served to your reps on a platter, golden platter. Just pop it in. You can even put it into an email for them, because it's an event data. You can just pull all the the meta like right in as like tokens into like a temp. Like it's all there for you to do.
Yeah.
And so I would say those like mergers and acquisitions too. Like it's all about growth, right? So yeah.
Yeah. And I noticed, like in this case, growth metrics, if you look over here, let's see, it's like Parker Hannafin. Um, so probably it doesn't have to be all like sunshine and rainbows. In this where I don't know enough to understand like was 5% good or not. Certainly
Hmm.
doesn't like sound the best. Um, but either way, like I could see, if like there's just a statement made about growth, period, like, okay, if 5% is not that great, like maybe we have a growth offering like for them. And I
Yeah.
can like that's probably why we want to split out like all of those different um like mergers and acquisitions, growth metrics, expansion, like they all have this little, there's nuance to all of this.
Yeah.
So
I think so. And in classic form, like uh, the it depends comes in, because I've spoken to so many customers now, and they'll see like our roster of signals, and they'll be like, "Oh my god, yes, geographic expansion. That's all we care about. Just turn off everything else." You know what I mean? And give us that signal, and we're cool. And that happens a lot, actually, right? Like they know, like there's going to be data and close one, history of like what moves the needle for us. And our goal is to make sure that we provide enough signals and enough coverage that we would give them that. Right. And there's lots of cool stuff on the roadmap too. That's going to continue to help with that, but that's the goal. So
that sounds exciting for sure. And you reminded me of like, again, part of the value of like bringing this visibility. Like you might not know what to do with it right away, but if you understand it's there and you put it next to the other stuff, like, and then decide at the end of the month, we're going to take a look at this. Like maybe it's great, maybe it's not, but now you know, right? Instead of just seeing like, oh, this intent data exists. I know we should be using it, but we're not sure. Like just starting to create some intention around like this data's there. There's value somewhere. If you don't take time and like strategically start to like look at it, you're never gonna like figure out like what it should be doing for the team. Like this is
mhm.
such a, especially like being able to take the moment first to understand and then give AI the guardrails, right? It needs to start to bring this whole picture together. And I'm starting to hear more people talk about, which makes me really happy and like curious your take as far as with this data available, you know, it used to be like just such a huge reliance on like scoring, right? To really like create signals that you could understand or you could try to understand with a very small amount of information, like what you need. And now we have all this context available. I don't see it. There's like a clash happening right now. Like humans are used to like building these scores, manufacturing these scores, but now AI is available to just look at everything. Um, how are how are you seeing teams like think about this in terms of scores versus AI like a lot of the AI AI summaries and AI like sentiment analysis, and just using AI to put it in perspective. Like, who is this person? Who is this company? Like, where are they in the journey? Like, how are you seeing
Mhm.
people like evolve a little bit there?
Mhm. So I mean, what I have seen a lot of, and that's why we provided a little bit too, is like where AI is super helpful when it comes to signals and intent is just like helping you craft some sort of narrative or story, like intent narrative or story that's easily understandable by a human being. Most of the time, it's like a rep uh, that isn't just like a bunch of chiclets or rows or whatever, right? Because that takes time, right? So if you imagine yourself as a rep being like, oh, so, marketing manager Chris just said I should pursue this account. I guess I got to go and do my research. Let me look through all this. Blah, blah. AI is so great, as you know, just looking through all the events for you, summarizing it, and be like, this is what's up, right? And that just cuts a lot of time. But when it comes to scoring itself, right? Like, no, like I haven't seen a ton of customers being like, "Hey, I'm using AI to like take over all of my scoring for me, to like prioritize all of my accounts and assign them." No. You know what I mean? It's kind of helping their existing processes, right? Like whether they're using like HubSpot's native intent scoring tools or not, right? It kind of plugs in and perhaps like helps to recommend and whatever. But I don't, my opinion at least is like at least HubSpot customers that I've spoken to, like they're not tossing away all of their scoring, methodology and like their data scientists and all that type of stuff to be like, here, AI, it's all up to you. You know what I mean? I think we're not quite there yet, but yeah.
Right. Yeah. No, that makes sense. I do like agree. There's so much domain expertise in the humans on the team. When you put it together with like what AI can do, that's really where the magic starts to happen. Okay, we're gonna end on a tough one,
Okay.
and you can pass if you want, because I don't know that anybody's figured this out.
Okay.
As we look at this credit limits here, and we
Uh,
talked about marketing and sales, um, budgeting for these credits, and who's responsible and which budget is it coming from, how much should we use, any words of wisdom there in terms of how companies should be thinking about this stuff.
mhm. Uh, okay. So as you stated, the cool thing about credits, at least at HubSpot, is that they're for most customers they have an included an allotment, right? Depending on their plan and whatever. And that's really cool and unique because that means that you can go and just try a bunch of stuff. And you're not going to get, as long as you're not overblowing your limits, you're not going to get charged for that more than what you're already being charged, right? Um, but we recently, introduced a little bit of extra controls as you're seeing here, uh, but for one primary purpose, and that was to make our customers feel psychologically safe with turning on automation. So this is like the graduation curve of like every customer where they're like, "Oh, this is a new feature, like it. Oh, it costs credits. Oh no. Okay, I guess I'll dive in. Let me do it manually for a bit. Oh, it's working. How do I like not do this manually? Automations? Oh no, I don't want to spend all my credits." And so like we talked to so many customers, they all go through the same journey, and so then we launched this where we're like, let's kind of remove the fear factor and say, hey, like, don't add more than 100 a month. Don't track more than 100 a month. Set it up front and then automate the crap out of everything. And then you can sleep well at night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the gist behind like, why we built this. And I think it's where HubSpot will go eventually too, right? Like the philosophy behind it, in my opinion, is you have all these different agents that spend credits, you got buyer intent and like whatever, you know, as a business, you need to decide like what's most important to you. Where do you want to invest most? And if you have a small credit allotment, you got to be more picky. If you got like 10 million credits, maybe you can go crazy a little bit and go crazy. But I think like a lot, at the end of the day, you still have to decide like what's the biggest priority for our company, and then budget accordingly. And then hopefully HubSpot can provide you the controls to abide by like how you want to divvy up your credits. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. One thing that's been really cool to see, especially in recent months, just the level of transparency that is showing up all over, the place in terms of, Bree Studio. Like it's like you can see how stuff is running, how much it costs, things like that. And it's so important. Like it was interesting. Like you could tell you talk to a lot of customers because that thought process, every single one of us have had that exact thought process. Because most of us don't have 10 million credits. We hear the horror stories of just turning something on and then all of a sudden credits are all gone. So that's very cool. And we definitely appreciate you doing that for us. We are, yeah, that went quick. Anything that you hope, like you're excited or you hoped that we would hit on that I didn't touch on? We can always bring you back for part 2. But yeah, like anything that you're hoping I hit and I didn't get to.
Just two things. Like one, again, for any HubSpot customers that are watching, listening, like, and you have credits included, like, highly encourage you to spend them. Like, spend what you have because it's already included. And I'm not saying you have to spend it and intent. Like, do some research into what you can spend it on, and just try stuff out. Like, that's kind of the beauty of the credit system in HubSpot, where you don't have to go and buy credits to try this stuff out. It's just there, you know what I mean? And in my opinion, it's like just use them, and then if you're getting value out of it, then you can look to buy more, so that's kind of like my first thing there. And then my second thing is intent's like our passion over here, like on our team, and we got so much cool stuff that we have planned, and I'm just super excited to continue to launch different types of signals, new ways to use signals, and with the goal of any HubSpot customer that wants to do any sort of intent-based marketing or sales, for it to be super simple, easy, and they don't have to manage like 10 different tools to get the data they need, right? So
Yeah,
that's it.
I think you guys are on the right track. Like I said, like, and if anybody saw my content like 2024, early 20, I was a buyer intent hater, like pretty much. And again, it's like, and it was something like, hey, let's figure out how to use these credits. That's where it came from. And then once I got in there, I was like, oh wow, these are insights that honestly are very expensive if I were to try and get them through other means, and they're included, and just the ideas started popping off in terms of like wow, if we put it over here and then we do this with it and then we can automate, right? Very, very powerful stuff. And we hope you keep up the wonderful work, and appreciate you stopping by today to let me kind of click around and just chat some strategy too.
No, thank you. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for supporting so many product managers and product teams here. When I told, I was in Slack, I was like, hey, I'm doing the show. And they're like, sweet. Everybody was pumped. So thank you for your work. We all really appreciate it.
Well, I appreciate that. And everybody has an open invite. There's so much value in this platform right now. Hopefully we can help you get outside the product update sidebar card. And yeah, appreciate you jumping in and sharing the knowledge, sharing the value. And we hope this was helpful. And everybody have a great rest of your week. Thanks so much, Justin.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone.